The Carl is $4.95. The Carl with 2 patties, the extra large.
This is what I was saying. It's 10.
Is $9.95.
G'day everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the official NBA Beancast. Today we've got Giannis, defensive player of the year bandwagoner, Bill Temby.
How's it going?
Prad. What's going on, boys?
I'm Prad right here. We were hoping to get a Jinkia back for this episode, but he's not available today, so hopefully next week, but we're waiting on that.
We need
Probably
some more
eating legumes.
We need some more Lakers controversy.
Yeah. So, they're losing a lot now, so hopefully that
Actually, preferably Clickers controversy.
Yeah, actually, Bill, to be fair though, you guys just agree on everything, so what's
I know,
the point?
that's right.
Well, today on the schedule we've got a couple of quick topics to run through: the All-Star game, the teams that were drafted, quick talk about the referees, and then the major elephant of the room. We're going to talk about the trades.
Woo!
So I guess I'll get us started. I wanted to get a quick note in about the All-Star game system.
Give us your rant, Paddy. Give us your rant.
Essentially, I like it.
What?
I like the All-Star game.
Sorry, what?
Okay, alright, yeah. I like the All-Star game too.
I like the new idea with it. Essentially, we forgot to bring out one point, which was that the final quarter, there's no time limit. So,
yeah, but they only have to score 24 points. Miss 8 possessions for Dome Lizard at the moment.
That's the thing. They brought it closer back to a pickup game, which is exactly what the players were asking for the entire time. Because they were saying, we want to be able to play, when we're playing casual pickup games ourselves, we one guy scores one time, all right, we'll play some defense maybe, and then they score again, and it's like, okay, that's fine. 3 times, and you're like, all right, we have to get a defensive stop. And then when it's like, we're playing to 11, and one team is on 10, and the other team is on 8, then suddenly we're all like Kawhi Leonard's on our team, and we're actually playing defense.
I don't mind it, actually. It makes a good point.
I feel like now, well, for one thing at least, the players have been given essentially everything that they asked for. It's a pickup style game. There's some incentive and charity of it that doesn't matter too much, as Bill said the other day. But it's like they've basically given the players what they want. So now the onus is on the players where they have to perform. And it's like, again, as basketball players, not just NBA players, as basketball players, we do feel a sense of okay, we're only down 2 and the game is 3 points away. Let's play the defense. Let's get our stops and let's win because, the game is winnable.
You're winning me over here, Paddy.
There's also now incentive for them to perform well in the first few quarters because, hey, if we don't perform, then it's going to be something like we have to score 40 while they only have to score 24. That's impossible. So we actually have to do well early in the game. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a fair point. Personally, I still think it doesn't matter what's going to happen. The game will be essentially tied at the end of the 3/4 time. Yeah. But then you're right. The last little bit of the game is always good to watch.
So it's the first to 24 in the last quarter. Oh, well,
yes.
No.
So
it's the first to
so the highest scoring team gets 24 added to their score.
And then it's the first to that.
And then it's the first to that score.
Yes. So e.g. if team number 2 is 8 behind, they have to score 32.
Yeah. Okay. So for example, you know how in pickup, if you've got one team at 20 and the other team at 19.
You have to win by 2.
Or 20 and, you have to win by 2.
They have not specified anything about that.
I feel like the players will just be like, you got to win by 2.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to go down.
As basketball players, that's how it has to be.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to win by 2. 100%. It's like tennis as well.
Yeah, you got to get the stop and then score again. I like it.
Well, now that that's out of the way, we do have to talk about the All-Star teams that were drafted. Let's see. Team Giannis has Joel Embiid, Pascal Siakam, Kemba Walker, Trae Young, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Rudy Gobert, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Lowry, Chris Middleton, and Donovan Mitchell.
Yep. So all the East starters.
Basically, yeah.
No, it is, yeah.
And Team LeBron has Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Nikola Jokic, Damian Lillard, Chris Paul, DeMontis Sabonis, Ben Simmons, Jason Tatum, and Russell Westbrook.
I cannot believe LeBron hasn't traded away Russ.
Just off the top, it looks like there's a pretty big gap in quality between Team LeBron and Team Giannis.
Do you reckon our idea of making it a snake draft would have changed it?
Yes.
I reckon it would have.
Because do you remember when we did that draft exercise? When
we did it before, we did it on the pod, and when
exactly.
we went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah, exactly. So when I picked first. My team was way better, but then once we did the 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, it went way better.
Well,
it was more even.
Like looking at this, if like obviously AD goes first. And then it's Giannis would get 2. He'd get Joel and probably Doncic or Kawhi maybe. I don't think he takes Siakam second. Like essentially Siakam was 6.
Yeah.
But then I mean, so LeBron takes AD first, then Joel, then Giannis takes Joel Embiid, then LeBron takes Luka. Then why wouldn't Giannis have picked Kawhi Leonard? Like, wouldn't that have been the next best option?
I feel like Giannis didn't draft her.
Giannis like willingly didn't draft. I'm not saying not to win, but he drafted all the internationals first.
Yeah, I think he wanted to get
especially
the USA.
Africa descendant. He got Joel and then Siakam. Then obviously Luka was gone. I fully think he would have taken Luka with his 3rd pick if he was still there.
Then he had to settle for Kemba Walker.
I know, but remember Kemba Walker was. You guys remember the joke he made? Yeah, Giannis got jokes, dude. It was like, I want a guy who will pass the ball when he was between Kemba Walker, Trae Young, and James Harden.
Yeah, I think like clearly LeBron's team's better, especially the starters anyway. But at the end of the day,
they got to give a shit.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like everyone forgets, like these guys are the superstars of the league. Like it doesn't matter which 5 you pick. You could pick 5 of just about any of these all-stars and put them in a game at the end, and they're fighting to the death, and I think it's going to be a good game anyway.
I'll tell you what I think the biggest problem for LeBron's going to be.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Probably.
No, he let Giannis pick Chris.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, yeah, you've got like the best player in the world, and then there's Giannis
as your captain. Yeah.
That's cool.
I like it.
I think I called it pretty well. LeBron picked Anthony Davis first.
Yeah, of course.
Well, why wouldn't he?
Well, no, because...
I mean, I wouldn't, but if you're LeBron, if you
can pick Anthony Davis first and then pick Luka and Jokic and Harden and Kawhi, why not?
I mean...
I still don't know how Kawhi went 7th, but...
To LeBron James, I think the All-Star game is massively politics.
Yeah,
Who can he draft to,
now that it's his team, like, he doesn't want to be, like, the losing team, so to speak, but... Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a big deal. At the end of the day, all we said, all that matters with this game is the only thing that we remember of it is like, oh, such and such was the 2020 All-Star Game MVP, and these 24 players were All-Stars. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You don't remember that there were these 24 players, right? It's like, okay, hey, when you look at the guy,
it's just All-Star in 2020.
All-Star,
yeah, exactly. You don't think All-Star starter.
Yeah.
You think All-Star.
Well, yeah, we had this conversation already about why. It matters, but it doesn't really matter about being a starter and not being a starter. So, yeah.
Players do care, though, I think.
Oh, yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's not going to make a huge difference. Like, I don't think Russ was the starter. Maybe in both years he won the MVP, so it doesn't really matter.
I think low-key, Harden might end up being the All-Star Game MVP because he might feel a bit disrespected.
Why?
But, I mean...
They took Kemba over Harden.
Oh, that's true, actually. I forgot about that.
Actually, yeah, we'll do that again now that we know our picks and everything. Who you guys got for
the
MVP?
Oh, shit.
You know,
See, do you know what we said, though?
It might be James Harden.
But that team LeBron's so stacked, like, in terms of the top-tier talent.
It is
so
ridiculous.
Giannis might win it because he's clearly the best player on the other team.
Giannis might have done what our old malnourished mate said that he might have done and just picked a crap team so that
he can put up the stats.
Yeah. So
but I mean, you got to win the game, right?
That's true.
Yeah, but see, the All-Star game format makes it, I guess, maybe a little bit easier to win than a traditional game. If
it's literally a 50-50 game.
Yeah.
Like, it just
going,
what happens
going
every
into the last quarter, you're still within a shot.
Well, they'll make it within a shot either way. Oh, boy.
So one thing I was thinking, this is going again back to the All-Star game system, is I honestly think it should just be like 2 teams, you get 30 minutes in total, and then like that's it. You guys have like a set score you have to reach each quarter. Just go at it, like literally a pickup game.
Why only 30 minutes though?
Essentially 2 15-minute quarters.
Okay.
So it's
2 15-minute halves, you mean?
Yeah, 2 15-minute halves.
Yeah.
Or even 20-minute halves.
That makes it a lot shorter, though.
It makes it a lot shorter, but it's like they actually have to compete again. Like,
I get what you mean.
Just keep making it closer to like.
It's less time of it
actually,
being
again, you
a
don't
joke
need to have time. Just like set like all right, you have to reach the first team to reach this score in the first quarter, the first team to reach this score in the second quarter, third quarter.
Okay.
And
What
then
you could do,
that team gets a bonus in the final quarter for the lead.
or what I'm thinking is maybe you could do thirds, have a score limit.
Yeah. I think the score limit idea itself is perfect.
Yeah, have a score limit for each third, and then just go first team to
two.
get this score.
It's best out of 3.
Yeah.
But they'll just make it 1-1, and then the winner of the third one wins.
Yeah, but that'll be more interesting though.
Yeah, I really like that they've done the score limit in the final quarter. I think they should just do a pickup game the whole way.
Yeah. I think either way, I think it's going to be better this year. So,
Yes.
all right, let's not worry.
Let's talk about everyone's favorite best friend, the referees.
That was bad.
I'll give us a breakdown of what it was. During the Blazers-Jazz game, the Blazers on the second half of back-to-back, we know that they're competing for a playoff spot.
This was a natty game too.
And, again, in Utah, difficult spot to play. Final possession of the game, Damian Lillard goes for a drive, gets hit on the drive, should have also been an and one, but very clearly the ball hits the backboard, and then Rudy Gobert gets it. The announcers called it, the fans called it, the players called it, the referees called it, someone's
the referees
called it.
Didn't
the referees
call it.
Didn't call it. That's the problem.
They called it after the game.
Yeah, well, they to it.
It was a goaltend. It should have been a goaltend, but it wasn't called. And the Blazers were guaranteed a loss there as a result.
Yeah.
See, I think the NBA legitimately does have a refereeing problem because
they do.
Because unlike with a lot of other major sports, it's really easy to mess around with an NBA game with bad refereeing. And this is really
because
bad.
There's so much contact and stuff that's generally uncalled, but then it's like out of nowhere. Oh, we're suddenly calling this today.
Yeah.
Why?
And if you think about it, Tim Donaghy did an interview where essentially he laid out how you can ruin a game if you're an NBA ref. Like, say for example, you've got say you bet on a game, for example, as a referee, and then you've got LeBron James versus Kawhi Leonard, well, like their teams, and then you've bet on Kawhi Leonard's team. Just call a bunch of fouls on LeBron early in the game, and then he's got to play conservative.
Heavily affected. Yeah.
I mean,
it's not a sure thing, but it's as close to.
Yeah, and there's so much like marginal contact in the NBA which you can call or you can let go. It's mostly just judgment decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can just go, all right, I'm going to call everything on LeBron today if it even looks like a foul.
Yeah.
And then, there you go.
I've had a great experience with that one as well, so I think you guys know what I'm talking about, but we'll skip past that.
We'll talk about that later.
I mean, this one in particular, I mean, everyone is going off about it.
Yeah, well, the problem is because, I'm all for the NBA giving the coaches these coaches challenges, right? But then what's the point of having them in a situation like this where it's a certain situation where if they can only use it if there's a call been made, they can't use it if a call hasn't been made. I really feel like that these coaches challenge, you should be able to use it for literally anything in the final 2 minutes, especially the fourth quarter.
And they should mean something as well. Like, how many times do you see a coach challenge a call, and then the coach's right to challenge the call, it should be reversed, but they don't reverse it?
That's happened as well many times. It's just an ego trip by the referees.
I agree, yeah. I feel like there needs to be an independent, they should be able to go to, obviously they go to the center, but then it shouldn't be, anything to do with the refs at the game. There's just the decision made there, and then that's
like what the NFL do.
Yeah, they have no
final say by the referees in the game. It should just be, all right, we see this is what it is, that's
it. Like the third umpire in cricket. Or like the third umpire in cricket.
They're just relaying their opinion of it. They're not getting anything from the actual referee at the game. Yeah, I agree. And just on that, I feel like with these coaches challenges, if you get a call overturned, you should keep your challenge. I feel like you should literally be able to use them in it'll probably never happen, but if you can get 10 calls overturned in one game, you should be able to do that.
The problem there, the only problem is that means that you almost, if you get the call right, then you almost get infinite timeouts as well, because they give you a timeout if you they don't give you a timeout, but
you don't lose a timeout.
You don't lose a timeout if you get it right, and then you just do it again and you get an extra timeout.
Yeah, and then the other problem is with that, it makes the games a lot longer.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing that I would suggest is, the G League, I think, is currently experimenting with it, so Zach LaVine should know about it a lot.
Shout out
4
Chicago.
referees. 4 referees, and currently what they do is they have basically a triangle offense, right? They have one referee on the baseline, one referee on one side of the court,
Jackson,
and another referee on the other side of the court. They should just use a box system and have 4 referees.
I don't mind that, but still
yeah,
at the end of the day,
like 4 blind people on the court with differences.
No, that's right. And at the end of the day, like a decision like this is like I'm not saying Portland were going to win, but it's cost them a chance of winning, and to me that's always a big deal.
And not just a chance of winning; these guys are playing for their
playoffs. That's right. Dame had every right to go.
Oh yeah, you guys have seen the comments.
I feel like they just somehow, I don't know what they should do, but they need to really refine these things, that, especially in the final 2 minutes where everything's reviewable. I feel like just call everything and review it. I think,
and then you can say,
this
was a foul.
It's easy to say call everything, but then that can ruin the flow of the game.
I feel like traditionally the NBA has been a league where you.
They let it go at the end.
You call it a bit tighter.
Let the players play at the end.
Yeah, but this was egregious.
So
but this isn't a foul. Like this is I feel like violation calls are a bit different to fouls.
This was egregious.
Like I think everyone's all for like letting a bit of contact go, like a bit of hand checking and stuff at the end, let it go. But then like things like this, I feel there's just no reason to not call. I feel like this would fall under the same category as an out of bounds call in a way. Like why wouldn't you check it?
Yeah. By the way,
Kevin Durant. You guys
was in the third row, yeah.
Do you guys reckon that the refs don't have enough accountability? Where if you look at it, right?
Yes.
If they make mistakes,
but you accept the mistakes.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But it's the like game altering mistakes.
No, not just that. Like consistent mistakes. Like a lot of these refs have a consistent track record of making a lot of shitty calls, right?
Tony Brothers. The Tony
Brothers.
Yeah, well.
No, I mean, I think CJ McCollum put it best in words. It was, it cost us game. We're competing for a playoff spot. The explanation I got pissed me off. Makes you think that you're not capable of doing the job the way you're supposed to do, which means you should be reprimanded and you should be fined accordingly. And despite that, the players and the coaches don't want to.
I don't mind the aspect of the refs being held accountable, but obviously they shouldn't have to pay anything.
Yeah, be accountable to an extent.
Yeah, if you're making create a threshold, and if you're creating a certain amount of wrong calls, I'd say specifically, for me personally, it's final 2 minute calls, especially in close games.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, you've got the last 2 minute report.
Yeah.
Which does crack.
Exactly. This last 2 minute report, the one for the Portland game, they called it a serious refereeing mistake, but that's where it ends.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There should be some repercussions for that. Whether it be, suddenly the refs, the officiating, or the referee made the call or whatever is not officiating in the next few games.
Yeah, that's the thing. And right now before the games, it's you've got the referees are scheduled already. So I mean, you can just say, all right, you're not getting the job for the next, just give them a
3-game off or something, so to speak. Yeah, I agree.
Don't make it painfully they've costed.
No, that's right. Yeah, it shouldn't be a huge financial loss for the ref, but
exactly.
Obviously they're well off, but it should still be enough of a hit to be I've got to. Not have my ego in the way of these sort of things.
Yeah. That's where you get on something.
I feel that's where players get really mad and
where Joey Crawford was doing shit ejecting Tim Duncan for laughing
on the court.
And players looking at him and stuff. It's ridiculous. So yeah.
I mean, it happened again just the night before with Steve Clifford, who he got fined for complaining about the referees. He was abusing the referees apparently.
Yeah, he can't be doing that.
When they failed to see him calling a timeout. When they had a timeout, and in the last 2 minutes, the report again said, yes, you had a timeout, and we failed to see it.
See, I feel like there should be a way to automate that.
Potentially, all right, Prad, put up a thing of the fourth ref. Why not just have a ref that is always within the vicinity of the
bench?
Yeah, on that side of the court, in the middle between the two coaches. Why not?
Or not even that. Maybe just give the buzzer or something. Yeah, I was just about to say it's a bit stupid, but give the coaches a buzzer so they can call the timeout when they want the timeout.
Yeah, as long as
having to get the attention of the referee can cost you time.
I mean, yeah, as long as that has a clear counter, okay, you have how many timeouts do they get per half? It's 4,
I think.
So then, once you press it 4 times, you can't press it again because we know that coaches will ask for a timeout whether they have a timeout or not.
Yeah, exactly right.
So if they just have like a buzzer, but it has to have also a counter, like, all right, once you've used it 4 times, it doesn't sound anymore.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Wait, sorry. Each team is given 6 timeouts each during the course of a 48-minute game, with 1 20-second timeout allowed per half, and each overtime period.
The only problem with that is then, like, why is it 4? Then you should just get 6. Or if I'm talking about this buzzer thing you're talking about.
No, yeah, 6 is right, but.
Oh yeah, you are saying it for like e.g. if you have there's 6 timeouts in a game, you've got like 6 buzzers, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like it. Yeah,
like just so that again, coaches don't keep on just because we know that Rick Carlisle has a history of just calling for a timeout when there's no timeouts left. So yeah, I think that would be two pretty simple changes. And if again you're worried about referees trying to fix the games, then just have a league decided referee that's anonymous who's going to come into the game as that 4th extra.
Yeah.
I like it.
There's some very simple changes the NBA could make, and it's they need to make those changes because otherwise, as we saw that massive tweet that Dame retweeted, the NBA ratings are going down, everything's going down, and this is why because
I don't know if that's accurate.
I don't know if it's accurate, but there's going to be some people.
Given we have the whole China situation, shout out Dasmore. Yeah, I don't think you can use the way basketball's played now as the direct reason as people claim James Harden's shit to watch. They wonder why ratings are down. No, clearly there's more than one.
I reckon that's the main driver. Also, the coronavirus scare in China would not be great for NBA.
I think I think the main thing is generally as a whole China, but that'll get sorted out eventually. So,
all right, well, now I guess it's time for us to move on to the massive trade deadline that we saw. It was a good trade deadline. Yeah,
it was really good.
But I guess we'll get started with one of the big 4-team trades that we got started with. Nice. Atlanta received Clint Capella and Nene. Houston received Robert Covington, Jordan Bell, the Golden State Warriors' 2024 second-round pick. Minnesota received Jared Vanderbilt, Evan Turner, Malik Beasley, Juancho Hernan-Gomez. I did a good job with that.
I like Juancho.
And Brooklyn's 2021st. And Denver received Keita Bates-Diop, Noah Vonleh, Shabazz Napier, Gerald Green, and Houston's 2026.
I feel like situationally, Houston have done really well with this trade, but also Denver. I think
the only problem with this trade is that it leaves Houston with it's been memed to death, but it leaves them very little big man depth.
You are disrespecting the great Frankenstein.
And PJ Tucker, of course.
Tucker is unbelievable. I feel like people forget, at the end of a game, the odds of your big being number 1 on the court and number 2 are a big threat these days. There's a few exceptions like Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, but then the problem
where it ends.
Yeah, but then the problem is if you don't have someone to body Nikola Jokic,
I agree.
The end of the game doesn't really matter because you're going to be down 30.
Well, Houston haven't been, but we'll get to that.
Well, okay, yeah, we'll get to that as well.
I think good trade for Atlanta too. Clint Capella is really good, and he's not on a huge contract because when he was re-signing with Houston, he wanted to re-sign, but he also wanted to get a sizable contract, which he got a fairly good contract in the end, but it wasn't to the extent that he wanted. And then obviously they've just thrown Nene in as to clear up some cap space.
I think another thing for Atlanta is that earlier in the season, I think Trae Young was expressing his frustrations with the team not having any help. So it's the team is showing Trae Young that it's okay, we know that, this isn't our plan for the long term. Clint Capella probably isn't going to be there for a long time, but
at least you've got something.
Yeah, we've got something now. We're making moves for you now, and also we're making moves for the future. So you can trust us on both of those parts. You can stay. It's a good idea. Please come to Atlanta, guys, kind of thing. I think they're just also the same way Minnesota, as we'll get to later, are just trying to satisfy their franchise player. I think
what's underrated about this deal is that Houston get a lot of cap flexibility, or a bit more cap flexibility than they had before, because they had nothing.
Well, a heap more. Yeah.
They were stuck. Essentially, that was the team. Now they've got a little bit of wiggle room. They can do some things.
Well, they have. I think Covington's
a good player too.
Well, on any contender, I don't think that there's I'm not talking
he's not a player with downside.
Yeah, obviously there's better players, but in terms of what was available, I think Covington's just about like the best player that we've seen for a contender get moved in this entire draft period. Yeah, and Houston will definitely figure out this small ball lineup. Like people underestimate Daz Morey and what he's about. Like clearly, there's more to what meets the eye than what we know. Like the stats clearly support what he's doing, and Houston's results over the years since he's been there clearly support that. And I think that they'll definitely figure out what to do regarding this big man. Like, we've got to remember, like, they've still got Tyson Chandler and stuff. Like,
Chandler doesn't play.
No, but he still can play 10 minutes. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
it might be enough. Is the future.
Yeah, well, Bruno as well. But I think Houston will be fine, and their results have shown that.
What they're trying to do right now is essentially build the team that Russell Westbrook needs, actually. Because we know James Harden can basically... Like, he is their system when he's on the court.
Yeah, he's dropping 38 regardless.
Yeah. Well, it was obvious that they needed more defense, and obviously to play at Houston, you have to be a good three-ball shooter, whether it be volume or efficiency, and, like, luckily Covington's sort of both. But he's also very underrated well, not underrated anymore. No. He got the accolades recently in the All-NBA defensive teams.
Yeah, he's an excellent defensive player.
I think now Houston with him and Tucker on will be actually fairly good on that end of the floor. Especially, they're all really athletic as well, and I think that's what they've said. Mike D'Antoni said that like a huge benefit defensively for this move. And they didn't make this move for the offense, so to speak. They made it largely for the defense, was so that they can literally switch anything in a pick and roll defense, which they can do now. Like I think Russ is their smallest player now on the court, mostly at 6'3", but like obviously
his tallest is a bit of an issue.
Yeah, but his athleticism's like his pace and verticality is enough to sort of make up for that and still contest at the ring on it.
Yeah, and at least you've got like James Harden for jump ball, is true.
That's right. I don't know, he might beat someone in a jump ball this year.
It's like putting Harry Kane on corners.
I honestly have a bit of an issue with the fact that, like you were mentioning the defense, but and obviously after the trade we've only seen 2 games from them.
Well, they played 5 games before that without a big man.
And yeah, like as you mentioned earlier, they were 5-1. They're 5-1.
But they won every game. They've won every game by double digits. The only game they lost was, I mean, they shouldn't lose to Phoenix, but Russ didn't play. And that's a big deal.
Kelly Oubre Jr. dropped 39.
He went bananas, yeah.
But the thing for me is that when they drop over 110 points, they win or lose games. But they don't have the defense to win when their offense isn't there. Like we can say that Kelly Oubre Jr. went off, but that could have been anyone, and we can't just keep on saying this guy went off or this guy wasn't there. I feel
exactly
like
right.
If their offense isn't there, then they're not stopping anyone, and that team is going to pop off against them.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, right? Offense can be very inconsistent.
Yes.
Even the most consistent offenses have off nights, whereas defense is largely about scheme and effort, where there's not as many variables. It's not about your shot falling or the refs calling offensive fouls or stuff like that. Even if they do call defensive fouls, you can still play defense.
Yeah, no, I agree, but also at the same time, I think Houston have created an offense like where now they're not solely relying on James Harden, and I think like the last 3 weeks specifically exemplifies that. Like I think they're 8-2, or probably 8-3 now after that loss to Phoenix, but Russ didn't play. And everyone knows how poor Harden's been, and this team's been winning games and winning
better recently.
No, but even before that, they were winning. They were clicking, and I think that just having better tier guys in terms of offensive load is really gonna help them. Like Covington's probably their 3rd best player now on offense.
No, Eric Gordon.
He's less variable though. He'll shoot threes or drive to the ring. I'm saying Covington offers more to the team, which I think is a huge benefit to them, and he's probably better one-on-one as well. And I think that's a big bonus for Houston is now that they're not solely relying on last year. Obviously we saw it was a Harden shot wasn't dropping, Gordon shot wasn't dropping. They'd lost Ariza, and then it was sort of who's going to make a whole bunch of shots now.
Covington's basically their Ariza.
Yeah, whereas now I feel like they've spread it again. Now it's there's a whole bunch of guys capable of knocking down multiple shots a game. So I think really good move for Houston in the end. Given they decided to get rid of Capella, I think they've done fairly well.
Yeah. So, but what do you think about the other parts of that trade? Minnesota receiving Jared Vanderbilt, Evan Turner, Malik Beasley, and Juancho Hernandez, plus Brooklyn's 2021st.
Well, as always, Denver just have this ability to fly under the radar. They've got, it's a Houston first round pick, but yet another first round pick. They've basically gotten rid of 2 guys that they don't use in Malik Beasley and Juancho. They were sort of fringe in terms of playing in the lineup. And they've gotten back Shabazz Napier. Gerald Green's injured, but he'll be a good addition in the years to come. And clearly the first round pick, which they'll get to use, which Denver always turn into gold.
It doesn't really matter where they're picking. They'll get a contributor somewhere.
They'll get another Michael Porter Jr. or Nikola Jokic operator.
I feel like Porter Jr. is a bit of a freak case though.
But either way, like Denver draft really well. And at the same time, it's just another asset that they could move. Then they've got Keita Bates-Diop, Noah Vonleh, which they can move. I just really think, like, in the grand scheme of things, Denver probably win this trade. Just because they've basically given up nothing that they use. Well, they've gained 2 things that they can use and a pick.
The thing to me is, like, they gave away Malik Beasley for, I guess a big part of that was Malik Beasley for essentially Shabazz Napier.
Yeah.
Shabazz Napier is, I've seen him, I've watched him play a fair bit. He's a guy who's really good when he keeps the ball in his hands, and that's not what Denver does. I don't know if he will fit into that system at all, honestly, because, like, Gerald Green, he's a guy you can fit into anywhere, and, if your offense isn't going, then he'll somehow get your team something.
He provides the same thing everywhere he goes, shooting.
And he doesn't need the ball for that.
Good athleticism.
Which is perfect for Denver, but I don't see where Shabazz Napier, especially given the guard depth in Denver.
They don't have any point guard depth. That's the problem. And I think I think that's why it's actually a good get for them, because he's not going to be playing 30 minutes a night. He's going to be playing maybe 15, and I think that they'll just want from him like that high energy, high pace, like space the floor sort of thing.
Yeah, just someone to keep the offense going.
So I think you make a good point, Praddy. Like he only does well when he's got the ball heap, and he obviously like had a big role before coming to Denver now, but I think in the small role, I think he'll be fine, especially with the Denver firepower all over the floor.
He was coming into, that's why I'm not completely sure I understand Minnesota making this move, because he was actually performing well
Minnesota.
In Minnesota. It's like,
do we need to speak on them? My goodness.
You've got something good going for you, and this is what Minnesota tends to do. It's like, okay, this guy is playing okay, but
let's cash in or something. But then they don't cash in for as much as they could. Yeah, I agree.
Shabazz Napier was he's undersized, and he's obviously requires the ball a lot.
Yeah.
But he was putting up numbers, and it's like, okay, you could probably fleece someone else.
Well, yeah, I really feel like Minnesota could have gotten a whole lot more for Robert Covington, given they gave away Covington, Bell, and. They didn't give away a pick, but either way, like Covington was the main thing.
Keita as well.
Keita Bates-Diop as well. But either way, like Covington was the big thing, and then to get back Jared Vanderbilt, Evan Turner, I think he's going to get waived. Malik Beasley's not bad. Juancho's not bad either, and Brooklyn 2020 first rounder. But like still for Covington,
Evan Turner is essentially what that guy Josh Okogie is right now. As it is, he doesn't provide anything more, and he was barely playing in Atlanta. I don't know what you're going to get with him.
Yeah, I think Minnesota just generally this trade was.
I think in this
didn't make sense for them. Yeah,
this trade for them was them creating space for D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah,
as we'll get to in a bit. But the next trade that we're going chronologically here.
Yeah.
The next trade that happened was Memphis receiving Justice Winslow, Dion Waiters,
gorgeous, gang.
Miami receiving the great Andre Iguodala, Solomon Hill, and Jay Crowder.
The King.
Minnesota receiving James Johnson.
Shout out.
I don't know how Miami manages to do it, but they somehow managed to get a good package for Dion Waiters, who was who has been
he wasn't
suspended for more games than he's played this season.
And Winslow, like, he started the year off like fairly well, but like clearly their team was depleted. He had a big role, but then he's been injured since. Like, I've not seen this guy play a game for like 3 months.
And James Johnson, who also came into the season sort of suspended because he was over their weight.
Yeah. I think Winslow could be an interesting get for Memphis though, just because of the type of player that he is.
Yeah, well,
he's a good ball handler for his size. Yeah. If he stays healthy, he can run the bench unit.
Yeah.
He can help Jar out.
I think like Miami like pulled the trigger fairly quick. Because as I said, I think it was last week. I don't think Miami even expected to be as good as they are. And like hats off to Pat Riley. Like clearly thinks Miami have a team good enough to. I think. Like I still don't think they're gonna win the East. I don't think they can. But at least get there. Like at least reach the Eastern Conference Finals now. Because I mean, I think it's Bucks and sort of daylight. That second spot sort of up for grabs with Philly playing terribly. Boston still haven't sort of had 20 games fully healthy, and then clearly Miami are probably the next best bet. And I think like picking up Iggy, everyone that I've seen like on Twitter and stuff, like, oh yeah, like who cares? Like this guy averaged 5 points a game, last year.
You don't really pick Iggy for the
exactly. Like for me, Iggy really was the glue at Golden State. Iggy as well, I think, underrated for that point. Like he's a lockdown defender and he's one who really pushed the ball on offense.
Bit of a shame for Justice Winslow. I mean, when he was healthy, he was good, but he was just never healthy.
Well, he was good until I think it was Butler came back, and then
he kind of struggled to find his role.
Once Butler came back in, because he was. I think Winslow was playing like nearly like 30 plus minutes a night, and then and he was the primary ball handler, whereas Jimmy Butler comes back like. There goes your 30 minutes, and I'm the primary ball handler.
But that's the thing. Even if there was, he was playing around 20 minutes after.
He was okay.
He was
once.
okay.
Yeah.
He was a very solid defender. He was good at distributing the ball. He was all right on scoring. He was still getting back into that. He was an all-round guy, and I feel like he was doing that pretty well. But like as soon he would have this back issue, and he would be out for about 15 games.
I agree. Yeah.
Then he would come back and play 2 games, and then get injured again. It's almost like watching.
That's the thing. Like the Heat may have dodged a bullet, like to make the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's a big win for them.
And again, they managed to get rid of Dion Waiters. I mean, that's amazing to me.
Yeah, agreed.
I can't believe anyone wanted him to be honest.
I think Memphis have done like fairly well though. Like obviously there's upside with Winslow and another backup big for in Dieng. So
I don't think that this trade was really made for this season. Maybe more next season.
Well, Iggy that's the other thing. Everyone said, "Oh, I can't believe they're giving Iggy $15 million for 2 years." Everyone forgets like this free agency coming up is not great compared to recent years. And then they have the team deal on him for the season after.
Yeah, exactly.
So, clearly, if a better option comes up, they don't have to re-sign a then 38-year-old Andre Iguodala to $15 million a year. They can use it on another, ideally a max free agent to go alongside Jimmy Butler and Bam.
I like the move for Memphis as well, getting Justice Winslow, because again if he can manage to get healthy, then he can perfectly run a second unit for them when Ja does go off the court.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. That's why I think that this is a good deal for Memphis, because now they've got someone else that can handle the ball.
Well, they've just essentially
Kyle Anderson. He's sort of
I think, exactly.
I think it's a win for Memphis because it's sort of like what Denver did in that previous trade we were just talking about, is where they've traded assets that they essentially don't use for pieces that they can use. Which because clearly the whole Iggy situation where my problem with that whole thing was Iggy went there full well knowing that Memphis knew he wasn't going to play, and Memphis acknowledged that. So, but then obviously, clearly, John Morant and Dylan Brooks and co thought differently.
I think Memphis would have liked Iggy to play if he wanted to.
I think they would have at least liked him to have been there.
But I think he made it
the
clear.
players.
But I think with his actions, during the off season and stuff where he called out
the
organization.
Obvious. Yeah, it was obvious.
He made it clear that he wasn't going to play, and then I think Memphis was sort of just.
Well, hats off to him. They got a good deal for him in the end.
They did, but I don't like the way Iggy really handled that situation because I felt like there was so much he could have offered the franchise.
Yeah, he could have at least been at the trainings and
He could be a very nice veteran.
Exactly.
Yeah, he didn't have to play. You can just, help out Ja Morant and Dylan Brooks and stuff.
Because there are heaps of players in the NBA like that. They at least try to contribute.
Well, Pau Gasol stayed on real late, just for things like that.
Yeah, and he played 5 minutes a game.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
This is really confusing from Andre Iguodala, who literally just released his book about how young players experience the NBA financially and similar things.
Yeah, and he could have helped with that too.
Yeah, but he's just decided, I don't like Memphis. And that apparently includes the young guys who play there.
He's basically just gone F these kids.
Yeah, what happened to the NBA being a brotherhood? Help these kids.
Yeah, it was just a very...
Yeah, no, I rate Ja's response as well. That kid seems like a leader.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I love Ja Morant.
Yeah, we do.
Shout out Ja.
One thing I don't understand is Jay Crowder. He had that one season in Boston where he shot 40% from three, but a lot of it was put on the line. And he seems like a guy who would be the perfect guy to have anywhere, right? Like an enforcer. He's good on defense. He's 3-and-D essentially.
Yeah,
but he always gets moved. It's almost a worse version of Tobias Harris. He literally always gets moved. He was in Utah, and you thought he might be good, but no. He goes to Memphis, and you think he's a good veteran, and he's going to be a good defensive player, and he's going to be that 3-and-D guy for them. He gets moved. He's going to Miami, where he seems like it would be perfect for their system.
Prad, let's get one thing straight about Jay Crowder. He's a long 2-and-D player. He's not a 3-and-D. He does provide space. As a Celtics fan, I've got a bit of a soft spot for Jay Crowder because he gave a lot to the organization. He really cared. We weren't really paying him that much, but this dude came out and balled out every single night. Yeah. I feel like the thing with Jay Crowder is he's just that ideal type of player that you can put in a trade to get the trade over the line.
He's a good asset for a contender.
Exactly, because he offers value outside of just on the court because he's not paid too much. He can contribute on D, as you said.
High performance, low maintenance.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of operator.
He's a good 3-point shooter.
Yeah,
but
long two shooter as well.
I just don't understand why that wouldn't be perfect for Memphis to keep. Then.
Well, at the same time, Memphis are going to be a team who are potentially fighting for a championship in 3 or 4 years' time, and Jay Crowder's window will be expired by then. So I don't mind it because I think it's just thinking ahead, and I like it.
I think Miami would have really wanted someone like Crowder included in the deal as well.
Well, that's what you think until suddenly he'll get traded to, I don't know.
Yeah, but see...
Philadelphia. Here he comes.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, right? Because Miami wanted maybe Jay Crowder included in the deal so they could just complete the deal. Memphis weren't attached to Jay Crowder enough to say, no, we're not trading him. They included him in the deal for potentially some other compensation. And I feel like this might happen to him again. The next time Miami are in the trade market, they might want to move Jay. Yeah, exactly, because Pat Riley's always dealing. But they might want to move or include Jay Crowder in a deal for someone else. And I feel like he's just your prototypical NBA journeyman, but he is really good.
What do you guys think?
He offers good value for his contract and just off the court and stuff like that.
Minnesota managed to be involved in this trade as well. They got James Johnson.
Just probably
huge get for
just clearing.
Yeah, he's gonna literally knock Carl Anthony Towns into the right place.
I think just clearing up
the black belts,
clearing the cash for that boy D'Lo.
Oh, well, yeah. All right. There was a more minor trade. Atlanta managed to get back their daddy, Dwayne Dedmon. Dwayne Dedmon.
Shout out Dwayne Dedmon.
Walking. What's going on?
They got Dwayne Dedmon for a 2020 second, a 2021 second from Sacramento, and Sacramento got Jabari Parker and Alex Len.
I feel like Sacramento really stuffed up giving away a first round pick here.
Because they didn't give away. They only gave away seconds.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, two second round picks. I don't know, because Jabari Parker, for me, he showed all the promise in the world at Milwaukee, and then now he's just fallen off a cliff.
I think the injuries really.
I mean, yeah. ACL, right?
Alex Len's not getting any better. Dwayne Dedman's better than Alex Len, I think. I just don't know why Sacramento did this.
To me, I think, first of all, Dwayne Dedman clearly stated earlier he wanted out of Sacramento.
Yeah, but
and for some reason, he obviously he wasn't a 3-point shooter when he was in San Antonio. I guess they started developing that. No, that's the thing. When he was in Atlanta, he was hitting threes.
I mean,
he was a.
I wouldn't call him a 3-point shooter.
No, but he was a guy who would step out and hit 3 threes a game suddenly, and you'd be like, oh yeah, this guy does that regularly.
Like Baines.
Yeah. No, I think he was shooting more commonly than Baines actually.
Oh really?
He's more like Brook Lopez in my opinion.
Nah, Brolo.
No, honestly,
Brolo's a stroker, brother.
But that's the thing. He was doing that in Atlanta, and then he went to Sacramento, and he couldn't hit anything, and he played himself off the court.
Sacramento are just a weird team at the moment.
I mean, they made that change to bring Buddy Hield off the bench. That worked for a while.
Well, at least they're trying.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I think they needed to. First of all, Dwayne Dedman didn't want to be in Sacramento, and they didn't want him there. They have big man Rashawn Holmes and Marvin Bagley, so they
if
don't
he
need
ever steps on the court.
and Bielitsa.
Yeah, so they don't need another.
Yeah, no, I don't mind the deal in terms of getting rid of him. I just don't see the point
why they did it,
and of getting back to guys who you're probably not going to get anything out of.
Well, that's the thing.
And giving up picks for that as well.
Yeah,
the second round.
That's my big thing. I mean, they're only second rounders, but still, you can use them for something else.
I mean, yeah, Jabari Parker was good when everyone was injured in Atlanta. He was, he was a big fantasy pickup at least. So,
shout out Alex Len, top 90 player this year.
He could be good, but I feel like Sacramento again. They always have pieces, but they can never do anything with them. So I guess they needed someone to replace Harrison Barnes because he's been awful.
Yeah, cool.
Maybe Jabari Parker is that guy.
Yeah.
How long do you see De'Aaron Fox staying there, just out of curiosity?
I feel like they'll go through another coach, and then he'll be gone. Yeah, Luke Walton is not staying there any longer than maybe another year.
That's the thing, yeah. The Kings were a better team last year.
Dave Yoga was...
And that was before they had another... Darren Fox and Marvin Bagley are better players now than they were last year, and then now they're a worse team. It just makes an... but
Bagley's...
No, I know, but still, they shouldn't be this this much worse. They're far worse. I just don't know what they're doing.
I think the main thing is Luke Walton. He was, he coached the Warriors to 34 and 2 or 34 and 3.
Yeah, coach.
That's the thing. That was an incredibly talented team.
Prad, I think any of us three could have coached that Warriors team to that record.
The Lakers, went on that hype and got him, and everyone's excuse was, "Oh no, the team's trash. They're not going to go anywhere." And then he went to Sacramento, and it's finally showing that he's a player who can't work when he doesn't have
coach
4 All-Stars.
Yeah, I think it's a good point.
3 All-Stars.
Yeah. What's next?
Maybe he's more of a Steve Kerr type operator.
Sacramento, they should be better than what they are. I think Steve Kerr doesn't get enough credit because it is a lot harder to gel a lot of talent together, and I think there's several teams in the league who are showcasing that now.
I agree with you.
He took the same lineup that Mark Jackson had.
But
anyway, that's a different conversation.
People are just saying because he had such a good team. Yeah, he should.
He's definitely just a cheap joke.
Shit joke.
All
right, what's next?
Next on the list,
Sacramento should be better. That's all.
Yes. Philadelphia receiving.
Who were Philadelphia?
Yeah,
Philadelphia 76ers.
I thought it was just Joel Embiid.
Are they still in the league?
Yeah, they still exist.
Okay.
They got.
They've done nothing since beating Milwaukee for the World Championship on Christmas Day.
They picked up Alec Burks, Glenn Robinson III from Golden State, and Golden State received picks, baby, picks. We got all the picks.
Yeah, good move for Golden State. I don't know why they got rid of Glenn Robinson though. I feel like he was doing the business for them. I think he would have been a good keep. Burks is obviously a veteran, so I mean, if you're not contending, I'm all for trading veteran, especially if you can cash in for young assets or
big
picks.
Big to our fantasy team as well.
Yeah, bloody Glenn Robinson, the third of his name. Philly though, it doesn't solve anything. Philly, if you ask me, because
Philly, they constantly say that it's a spacing. Well, someone there is saying that it's a spacing issue.
It is a spacing issue because they're nearly the worst in the league for making threes.
They picked up two guys who are decent from.
Yeah, but they're not. These guys are not that caliber that it's going to make the big difference in the world.
They're not really floor. They're like it's like when the Celtics got Jason Terry, right? They're not floor spacers.
They can make threes.
Yeah, but they don't really. That's not the focus of their game. They're not going to stand at the 3-point line, catch and shoot.
Oh no, like Glenn Robinson's quite the athlete. Like he's a good dunker. Like he's not. I just don't think he's going to accept. Yeah, I'm just sitting in the corner for threes now. Like he's just not that player. I don't know. I think Elton Brand's on his last legs here. I truly think that, like I remember going into the start of the year, I genuinely thought Philly will beat Milwaukee. The names they had were really good, but then this once again goes back to how hard it is to get the team to mesh together and everyone buying in. Clearly, Joel Embiid's buying in, taking threes. Ben Simmons isn't.
I was just about to say again, it's so hard to win in the league when your primary ball handler doesn't shoot threes.
This move just doesn't make.
There's a lot of issues in Philadelphia right now, apart from just the spacing. Because if you want to talk about spacing, you've got Al Horford, just the previous game. He took 12 threes.
Hey, shout out Giannis Antetokounmpo, defensive player of the year.
He's going to be the third guy in NBA history to get both awards.
Yeah, he is.
Shout out Jeffrey.
And shout out Hakeem.
Yeah, there they are. And
Giannis.
There's several issues in Philadelphia where they keep on saying that there's spacing issues. There's also those massive chemistry issues.
There's also the fact that they are literally the worst team on the road. My goodness.
I mean, apparently they're good at home, though.
Well, they're very good at home, but that's the thing. They're not going to have home court
advantage.
And just having that dysfunction in the locker rooms at the end of them. And I just don't really see this trade. Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson just don't stand out to me as, these guys are going to be the whole difference from getting you from the 6th seed back to a top 2 seed where you should be, and the difference in a playoff series against the Bucks. So,
low-key, also think losing a player like JJ Redick would have been huge for their morale as well, because Redick was an excellent shooter.
And he was a great fit, and we've had this a million times.
Yeah, and I think he's a great locker room guy as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and the Pelicans are making a resurgence to keep his record alive. He's never missed playoffs.
So, yeah, well, that's true. I mean, good luck, Philly. Hope you get swept in the first round by Boston.
This is a
literally anyone. Don't mind
who does it. That's right. Shout out Pacers. Knock them out.
It's going to happen. I mean, they're going to get hopefully they get that violence under their asses after they lose this round. Did you see Shaq's comments against Embiid?
Yeah.
What would he say?
He was like,
so basically
just took the piss on him on Embiid.
Both ends.
Yes.
And Shaq was reviewing the game on TNT and everything, and he was like, "Oh, I got a little abandoned."
Basically, Embiid was basically just playing for fouls instead of take the contact, get your bucket, and if you get the foul, you get the foul. Which was a fair point. And that just, to me, that's just Philly in a whole. Like, they should be the most physical team in the league, and they're just playing so soft. But yeah, back on topic, this trade, I don't think it solves any problems for them. So
I mean, I think it does.
I agree. I don't think it moves anything.
You get two other guys who can sort of create offense for themselves, as I mentioned previously, they've had to learn how to do with no one being able to do anything in the Warriors. So maybe that solves some problem somewhere for them, but I don't know if it addresses. I don't know what their major issue is. That's the problem. No one knows what their major issue is. So, Joel Embiid says we don't know our identity. Someone else says it's spacing, and then Al Horford is talking about effort, and no one knows what their issue is. Yeah. And maybe, like I said, maybe these two guys solve some issue, but it's not going to solve
the big issue.
Yeah. One of the big issues.
I think a lot of this also comes down to coaching and the front office.
Brett Brown is going to
it's incredibly hard to integrate all those assets.
Yeah, as you said, with Steve Kerr, he deserves a lot of credit for being able to get the team to mesh together the way that he did.
We got the best out of that team. It's very hard to do that.
And I feel like Philly are pretty much the perfect example of you can have a stacked team, but it doesn't mean it's so hard to get that team to work well together.
Yeah,
I think Brett Brown to that team was what Alex Caruso was for the last few years. Everyone in Philadelphia fans loved Brett Brown because he survived the team through the tanking, and now he sort of deserves.
Yeah, well, the two back to back.
Whereas but this year it's the narrative has changed completely, and everyone wants.
Now you've got the team. Give us the results.
Yeah, and he's just not been doing it.
This trade I don't think it helps them enough. So yeah, shout out Derek Walton Jr. getting traded for cash.
Yeah, it's a photocopier. He got traded for a photocopier, I'm guessing. Shout out Kyle Korver.
The next one's the D-Lo one.
Yeah,
right?
That's the one. Where Minnesota received D'Angelo Russell, Jacob Evans, and Amari Spellman for Andrew Wiggins, and Minnesota's top 3 protected 2021 first, as well as their 2021.
I feel like it's hard to say a winner for this trade because Golden State get yet another pick in the coming years.
We got all the picks, every single one.
And I think it was a really good point. I can't remember who made this point the other day, where Minnesota wanted Wiggins to be like that number one elite scorer. That Minnesota wanted Wiggins to be like the number one option, whereas he's coming to Golden State where you've got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. So I think any player that plays with guys like Steph and Klay, you're just instantly better because of how much attention's drawn off you. So I think I'm not saying Wiggins is going to be amazing. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-star. I just think he will be a useful complementary piece. Yeah, I think he'll be better better than what he has been. But yeah, good get for Minnesota because that team and that franchise is in shambles. They
need to make some change.
I don't know if the ice in his veins, man, D'Lo changes that, but it at least makes Cat happy and probably keeps Cat there. So that's probably a win.
D'Lo seems like the kind of guy that'd be good for team culture, though.
I think D'Lo's a winner as well. I feel like D'Lo's a winner.
I mean,
you can't win at Golden State with G League players, but he was huge for Brooklyn. Like they had no right to make playoffs, and he got them there.
Yeah, and you can just see the effect on the team now that he's gone.
You saw the reaction as soon as Cat received it.
Yeah.
He was like, I got your jersey, man. They hugged, everyone was clapping when he got there. He had the video camera as he came out of the flight. Yeah. I'm kind of worried. I guess I don't really care about Minnesota, but I'm kind of worried because on the way out, I didn't expect this, and they're not really being rude, but Steve Kerr saying, the fit was questionable from the start.
Yeah, it was just a comment that he, there was just no need for it. Everyone knew that it wasn't a good fit. You could have just said, we have Steph and Klay coming back.
I don't think I guess maybe he was asked about it and so he was responding honestly, but I just didn't feel it was necessary to say things like, the fit was questionable or something like that. It just say he was good for us, but we needed a different position.
Yeah.
You don't need to specifically say stuff like that. And I mean, I've always, well, no, I can't say always, but Andrew Wiggins has interested me for the wrong reasons sometimes because,
Well, he was really good at the start of the year, so...
Wiggins Island was a real thing.
It was.
Like I said, there was a subway built there. I think there were some people invested in it. I kind of remembered that he had done this in previous years. And, he still played well. People are acting like he's scoring
10
1 point a game or something, but he's playable.
He's a 20-point per game guy.
He's not Anthony Bennett.
No, I think he's going to be, much Andrew Bennett. Andrew Bennett.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, Prad. I think he'll be good for Golden
State. He'll be a Harrison Barnes for us, but a better version, I think.
I think he'll be a useful complementary piece to the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, because it seems like he's got a bit more of a bag than Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Not 4 of 17 in an elimination game, anyway.
Harrison Barnes...
he might just go 0 of 1. But, yeah.
Harrison Barnes was already in the Warriors, so he didn't really have to develop his own thing. It was just... He was literally 3-and-D, and then a couple of dunks here and there.
Now, that's a good point, because, Minnesota wouldn't have had much to give Wiggins in terms of, who were there... They're sort of developed guys that are already there that are going to teach him things. Now you've got arguably the 2 best shooters to ever do it, Steph and Klay, helping this guy out.
And he's already got, he can create his own shot already.
Oh, he's athletic as hell. Yeah. He's really good.
I think it's we've essentially we're getting close to recreating another version of that 2014-2015 team. But, we've still got Steph and Klay.
And he's also super young.
Yeah.
He's still really young.
Yeah, so, I think it could be good.
He's been in the league 6 years, so he's still young. Yeah.
There's time. There's time enough.
For me, the best part of all these trades of the Warriors.
Picks.
No, it's like until now, I'd heard of the name of Maurice Feldman before. I knew Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson III. Now the Warriors have no players, so they're signing all these random players. I have to learn the names of players like Jeremy Pargo and Juan Toscano Anderson.
Yeah, I don't know what you're saying right now.
I could just be saying random names completely. Like, obviously Eric Pascal was a random name, but he was a rookie. And, Alan Smolarkick was, again, another, young rookie. But these are guys who I've straight up never heard of, and we're just signing these random names. Like, next up you'll hear that Pradyumna Vartula was signed to the Golden State Warriors.
And you just believe it, yeah.
That's a random guy, I wonder who he is. Anyway, the next actually, there's one other thing I did want to mention. The Warriors got top 3 protected 2021 first from Minnesota. Yeah. This is a massive middle finger to Minnesota from the Warriors, I think.
Yeah.
They're just saying, look, you get...
You're still not going to be good.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. And I think it's spot on. Like, yeah.
I mean...
With how the West is, they're not making playoffs.
I mean, they basically traded away half of their roster to get
D'Lo.
Yeah. They're not going to... Like, their offense is going to be, at best, solid. They're not going to be, amazing.
Still no deal.
On a great day, they'll be amazing, but most days they'll be solid. And then the rest of their team will drop like 5 points.
Yeah, and then also you've got D'Lo and Cat on defense, which is problematic.
I mean, like we said last time, that it's defense is half the game, and they're not going to be doing anything of it. So they're still going to be trash. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I mean, I don't mind it because I think there is going to be room for guys like Malik Beasley and such to grow. So that could be a positive. I mean,
But Ryan Saunders has to go. I think he's not a good coach. He might be a good assistant coach, but
you have Karl Anthony Towns. You shouldn't be a bad team.
I think they
but not with at least decent supporting cast, which they've had
in the past. They could go after that coach that sounded like a Russian war veteran, Igor something from Phoenix.
What?
They had a coach his name was Igor something, and basically as soon as he was fired, everyone was like, "This is a dumb decision." The Phoenix Suns were actually doing something under this guy.
Was this the guy that they fired for? Was it Bill Watson?
Who's that coach right now?
Bill Watson, right?
Is it?
Igor Kokoskov.
Yeah, I reckon that's the guy. He was a harsh guy. Yeah, I mean, he sounds like it, right?
All right, no, okay, yeah.
But I reckon that's the coach they have to go after because he at least lit a fire under the guys who were there. I think that's what he could do for Minnesota. Hopefully getting his friend on the team, Karl Anthony Towns, finally does something more than just jumping up and down and, getting his offense. He might start finding his openings because this is the same issue that, Jimmy Butler was annoyed about, that we're all annoyed about, is that there's a culture in Minnesota where they're just like, we're just here to have fun.
Sorry, I fucked that up. It's Monty Williams. It's the
yeah.
They should be doing better than what they are. But
that's the thing. Like they're a team that just they're here to have fun, and I feel like that's the issue that Jimmy Butler had, and people were 50-50 on Jimmy Butler when he left Minnesota, saying all these shit things like there's I beat these guys with the third wing squad or something like that. It's like what is it, Jimmy Butler who's a toxic player, or is it Minnesota where there's a bad culture? And
that's
clearly, it's showing now that Minnesota does have a bad culture.
Problem. Yeah.
Well,
and especially given I feel like Jimmy has landed in the perfect situation.
Oh, 100%.
But
I mean, wherever he goes, he's a winning player. Like you can't say he's not a winning player.
I feel like Jimmy is the kind of player that needs a certain kind of environment to thrive.
That's true.
And I think
for him
Minnesota
to thrive, yes, but for the team to do better, he'll go anywhere. And he's one of those players who you would say he'll go anywhere and make the team better. Because he went to Minnesota, which had never made the playoffs, despite having Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns already.
Jeff Teague.
And Jeff Teague, and he brought them to the playoffs. And then the season he leaves, they're back to tanking.
They went to shit. Yeah.
Then he goes to Philadelphia, and they get, they're one shot away from
arguably,
beating,
should have won the finals.
the
finals.
Toronto, and Jimmy Butler is there. Then the next season he's gone and they're whatever they are now.
Yeah.
Whereas he goes to Miami and he's doing amazing and the team's doing amazing and I guess the culture fits now, so it's better.
Yeah,
but he's a winning player. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, Minnesota just waste cadets.
That's the perfect word for it. The next trade was another minor one, like you mentioned earlier. Jordan Bell in a second to go to Memphis, and Houston receives 2 years from 2 years away, Bruno Caboclo, and a second.
Yeah, and then Scal.
That was the next trade. That was
So
Atlanta
received minor trades. Yeah.
Atlanta received Scalabisiev and Cash for Portland receiving Cash. Then here's the big trade that people are pretty much on the fence on. The New York Knicks received Mo Harkless. How could you be so Harkless? The rights to Isaf Sanon. I don't know how that works. They got.
So that's where they've just like e.g. they've drafted him the previous year gone, but because he's playing internationally, his rights will be after the season.
Yeah, so they're trading away his rights to.
Yeah, so the e.g. they technically would have drafted him with whatever pick it was, but they don't get him until the following season.
Yeah. So it's like Nikola Mirotic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then they also received the Clippers' 2020 first, the Clippers' 2021 first, a pick swap of via pick swap, and Detroit's 2021 second. The Clippers received Marcus Morris and Isaiah Thomas, who was cut today, and Washington received Jerome Robinson.
Yeah. Quickly, it's a big win for New York, given they're clearly not going anywhere. Yeah, Marcus Morris might have been putting up good numbers for them, but at the same time, your team's irrelevant at the moment. And I think that New York really are trying to sort of build ahead now. I think they've got something like 7 picks in the next 3 years, all first round picks or something. It's an absurd number. And either way, that's really good. And then obviously they'll have cap space again.
Not that they do anything.
At least they're getting rid of some of these power forwards that they have.
I mean, that was what they did at the start of the season, right? They just picked up, Marcus Morris, Julius Randle, every single power forward that they could get.
I think Washington definitely lose this trade because IT was at least serviceable for them, and they seem to have gotten not much back.
I think Isaiah Thomas loses this trade, honestly.
Yeah,
because
him too, it's pretty bad.
He was doing well in Washington, and you would think, oh, hey, he's finally put together a solid season where he's also been healthy.
Yeah.
And he's, putting up decent numbers. And you would hope that finally he goes to another team and they would want him there. And then immediately the next day he gets cut. And it's like, what more can he do?
He could have done something for the Clippers, I guess. But I think it's a good deal for the Clippers.
But they didn't need IT.
Yeah, they didn't need him. But it's like,
I think the Clippers generally win this trade
because they got Marcus Morris.
Because the Lakers don't get Marcus Morris. I think that's why the big reason why the Clippers win this trade.
And the Clippers get Marcus. He's not a bad.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Because of that reason and the fact that they didn't let the Lakers get him is a big win for them. Yeah, when it was down to Lakers Clippers.
Yeah, because if the Lakers did get Marcus Morris, they could have. That's a big addition for them.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, Morris is a huge get for the Clippers. It's another. A wing who can shoot really well and decent on the other end.
And you can chuck him on LeBron.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it gives
not slow him down, but
it gives Kawhi and PG a rest.
Body, to rest Kawhi and PG.
Yeah, I mean he's a guy who can. Also, we saw this with the Knicks as well. They obviously their offense per se. At the end
when
of the
they
day,
have the ball.
Yeah,
time they have the ball.
Yeah.
Yes. I wouldn't call it an offense.
They could sort of chuck the ball to Marcus Morris at the end of a possession and say, "Hey, get us a bucket," and he was pretty good at that.
He's a big shot maker as well, which is a big.
He's a big shot taker, not necessarily always a shot maker.
I mean, I think if you need a guy who will say, "Yes, I can take this shot," he won't hang on to
the Morris brothers have never seen a shot they don't like.
I mean, I like it for the Clippers, especially because when I reckon there will be a point where Paul George and Kawhi Leonard miss a game together, and when that happens, if you have Trez and Marcus Morris to replace them, you're kind of a bit better than you would have been if it was just Trez the entire way.
See, I think the way that the Clippers have managed Paul, son of Paul, and Kawhi, they should. They have to be good to go into the playoffs.
I think they will be. They're doing a phenomenal job.
Well, they haven't really done a job with Paul George. It's like he's been injured.
Yeah, he's been injured a lot.
Yeah, but they're both not playing big minutes either now.
Yeah.
Which is another thing.
Yeah, so I think they will be fresh going to the playoffs. But I think just adding Marcus Morris would be. I think it's more for the regular season, really.
Yeah, well, and they weren't really getting anything out of Mo Harkless, so
exactly.
why not do it, sort of thing.
At least Morris gives you something on the offensive end.
What do you think IT goes after this? Do you think the Celtics will pick him back up? Bring him home!
I wouldn't mind him.
You don't want him, though. I don't think Boston want him.
Surely you would want him over Brad Wanamaker.
Wanamaker's not a bad backup point guard.
Yes, but you would take
But
Isaiah
also
Thomas
the
over
fact
Brad
that
Wanamaker.
Boston's defense relies on the team buying in, and Isaiah doesn't give you anything on that.
It's not that Isaiah doesn't buy in on defense. It's more that
can't.
There's just the physical limitations, and Wanamaker is not bad on defense either.
I don't know where it'd go. I don't know who needs a backup point. I mean, you could say the Lakers, but like.
Probably again a little too small for what they're after.
Exactly, yeah.
We also have to consider that the Clippers are probably going to get Darren Collison.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is funny.
We don't need to speak on the Clippers.
Which is funny.
Either he goes to the Clippers or the Lakers. It's one of those two. And
Clippers.
so I mean, they probably weren't. One of those teams will get him, and the other team will probably get Isaiah Thomas.
Nah, I think IT's gone no matter what.
Really? He's not even going back to the Lakers?
No, I don't think he'll go to the Lakers. No.
So you think it?
I don't know. No, I think he'll get taken by someone, but I don't know who that someone will be.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think he will end up somewhere on an NBA roster.
I don't think he's
not
contender. Yeah, he's not a contender caliber guy for the role he's in now, so to speak. Yeah.
It's just a shame with the hip injury and all.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the next trade that happened was Cleveland got Andre Drummond
for a bag of chips and
for
lemonade.
A bag of us. Yeah. For literally the beans.
The beans.
They got him for beans. They got him for. I don't understand this. They got him for John Henson, who he's still in the league. They got him for Brandon Knight, who. He's still in the league.
Yeah,
and, well, the worst of Cleveland or Golden State's 2023 second-round pick. Yeah. It's not
baffling.
I mean, I feel like the Warriors will still be competing in 2023, and Cleveland is somewhat on a good path. But, that's going to be a really bad pick.
Yeah.
They literally got nothing from this trade. I don't know what Detroit is doing.
You can't tell me that there wasn't teams out there that would have given, I'd say, even multiple first rounders for a guy like Andre Drummond.
Multiple first
rounders. Two, I would say.
This trade really
I don't know about two. I don't think Drummond's worth 2 first rounders personally.
You don't think?
Yeah, I think especially because it's a rental for this season.
Exactly.
So it's not really worth the 2 first rounders.
It's clearing cap space, but you could have gotten a lot more.
You don't I mean, I first of all don't understand why the Cleveland Cavaliers went after this guy, especially since they didn't even give away Tristan Thompson or Kevin Love.
But now they're in a really good position going into next year.
No, for the rest of the year, no other team should get a single rebound. No team that they're playing should ever get a single rebound.
Yeah, but the problem that the Caves are going to have is that there's no one that can do anything once they get the rebound.
Well, it should just all be like, okay, Colin Sexton will put up a bad 3-pointer, and then they'll get the offensive rebound and put it back up immediately. Because they have Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, and Andre Drummond surrounding the basket.
They just need someone jacking up shots as well.
And they have Darius Garland and Colin Sexton for that. This trade is probably the worst trade today. Worst trade of the trade deadline.
Hey, underrated. Have you guys seen Andre Drummond's social media since the trade?
Yes.
I've not.
It is hilarious.
He said he didn't believe.
It was a joke. Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Which, to be fair, looking at John Henson, Brandon Knight, second round pick.
I didn't
believe it either.
What the hell is Detroit going to do with John Henson and Brandon Knight? It doesn't make sense. I mean, they're both not even young players. They're not going to get any picks from. They're not going to get a good pick from this. That pick will be literally a nothing player, unless they somehow manage to draft their next Nikola Jokic or Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
You know what?
Second rounder.
This trade is really. I'm so annoyed by this trade, especially because they could have at least someone if that's what they were giving him away for, then maybe even literally, the Lakers could have gone after him.
I'm deceased at this trade, man. It's literally the worst trade I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't get this at all, because it just doesn't look like the Pistons. I'm trying to figure out what they get from this.
The Pistons are taking the piss.
I mean, again,
out of themselves.
On the side
of Cleveland, that's what they get.
Jesus.
On the side of Cleveland as well, they're not getting anything that's useful for them because they're getting another big man.
No, but it
they
could
were supposed to trade away Tristan Thompson.
I disagree with that because Cleveland aren't trying to win games at the moment. They're happy to be in the lottery.
Just trying to figure out what they have.
No, yeah, and then you know what I mean. Like at the end of the year, suddenly now they can trade two of Love, Tristan Thompson, and Drummond for whatever they want.
No, they can't trade Drummond because he's free. I mean, he has a player option.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Well, they can sign him, or then they've got heaps of cap space still. So
I mean, they have John Henson and Brandon Knight, who are probably going to expire soon enough. I'm sure they could. I'm sure they would have gotten the same.
They still got.
No, this trade really just doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
it annoys me greatly as well.
At least Drummond is going to get some sort of playing time in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, what? Wait, what? Playing time? He was getting plenty of that.
Weren't they benching him?
Well, the weird
consistent
operation.
Playing time.
Yeah, no, it was very
consistent
weird.
Playing time.
It was a weird operation at Detroit.
No, I mean, they had. I guess Detroit, they're fully going in on their young guys, but then why would you go and get John Henson and Brandon
Shout
Knight?
out Fish Smith.
They've got Seko Doumbouya and Christian Wood who perform well, but I don't see why. But I'm pretty sure Cleveland would have offered more than John Henson and Brandon Knight.
I'm pretty sure someone could have offered more than John Henson and Brandon Knight.
Agreed.
I'm sure we could probably have offered a bit more than John Henson and Brandon Knight.
I would happily give them a packet of original salted Doritos for.
I'll give them. You know what? I'll give them my custom printed Coke can, which I've already finished drinking.
No, Americans are more into a Cool Ranch. You'd have to do that, Bill. I don't know if I'd give that up for Andre Drummond.
I don't think I would.
All right. Well, the next trade we talked about, I guess, what Shabazz Napier could do in Denver, but he was also traded. The Washington Wizards received yet another undersized point guard for Jordan McRae.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what point guard the Wizards get. They got Fish Smith running the
Fish Smith, shout out Fish Smith, brother.
I think I'm in a certain mood now. Every trade annoys me. This trade also annoys me because you gave away Isaiah Thomas and you got back Shabazz Napier eventually. Basically the same player. They're basically the same player.
I don't know what is happening in Washington.
I mean,
I feel like these trades just kind of show us that there's a lot of strange management going on at the top levels in the NBA.
Yeah. They need some old heads.
And then, I guess that's a trade we can sort of fly through. I mean, Jordan McRae is a solid player. He's I feel like when they're similar to the Morris brothers, he's never afraid to take a shot.
He's not bad.
But he was just one of those.
He's not a net negative on the court.
Yeah, he's one of those given a big role operators, I feel.
Yeah, so I mean the fact that he's been given that big role and he's had to score in difficult situations, I feel like it's similar to when the Sixers received two of the Alec Becks and Glenn Robinson III. It's like this guy's learned how to score in difficult situations. He's learned how to score in the NBA again. He's going to be solid for Denver, so I guess I kind of like that for Denver. I don't know why Washington would try and go after Shabazz Napier in that case. But I guess, Denver 100% won that.
Denver win every trade they do.
And then finally the last trade that happened on the day was Philadelphia received a second-round pick for James Ennis. This trade, again, is one that doesn't make sense to me. They keep on talking about spacing, defense, and effort.
And they get James Ennis.
And they give away James Ennis.
Yeah. No.
They
give away James Ennis.
So the reason why they did that was because the trade they made to get Robinson and Burks was they only gave up picks, so they had to create two roster spots.
They needed to give away a player, but
they had to give away
problem
two.
with the Burks.
They had to give away two, so they've waived Jonah Bolden now, and now they've got rid of James Ennis.
Yeah, but that's the problem with the Burks and Robinson trade.
Yeah, it's stupid. You're basically giving away two players and two picks for two players slightly better than the players.
Exactly.
Yeah. Shout out Philly.
I mean, at least Alec Burks. It's not bad.
He's a good bet.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him in Utah for a while, and then
he was useful there.
Yeah,
he's a good bet.
He can do well. But I think we've gone through all the trades that happened on the trade deadline. So we'll take a short break here, and we'll get back to you guys soon.
Hey Legumes, as we're all new to the podcasting, or as we call it, beancasting scene, we were quite unsure of how we could get started with this, and so I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Anchor. We've been using Anchor to distribute all our Beancast episodes, and it's been just so easy. They allow you to record, edit, and also provide you a platform to send messages to all your followers directly. It's just they've provided the perfect system, and I just wanted to give a shout out to them. If anyone is interested in trying, beancasting or podcasting, I don't know which one you would do, then I highly recommend trying Anchor. So hit them up either on the app or on the website at anchor.fm. Back to the Beancast.
Okay, so we went through all the trades. What do you guys think? And I finally managed to cool down a bit.
Yeah.
So, do you guys? What do you guys? Who would you say won the trade deadline?
Denver.
Easy.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
They got something for not a lot,
as always.
That's pretty good.
And the first round
saying it.
Memphis second.
Yeah.
Easy
again,
run.
they got something for not too much, and they managed to get out from under Iggy's contract and Iggy.
Yeah.
I feel like the main reason that they didn't really want to bring Iggy in was the fact that he might have brought that unnecessary drama into the locker room, where the
or
team
even onto the court as well.
Exactly, where the team looks like they're just gelling really well.
They're gelling, and they like this is really good experience. They're gelling in perfect time to try and make a playoff push.
They're probably gonna make it.
Yeah, if he was there and he was negative on the court and caused him to miss the playoffs. That's just a massive negative, especially if he does cause that locker room.
It's the last thing you need. So yeah, props to Memphis for managing to get him off the books and get some decent players.
Now, who would you say lost the trade?
Detroit.
Detroit. It has to be Detroit.
It has to be the Pistons.
We're going to speed through this because I don't want to. I already gave my full take on this. I don't want to talk about it too much. It's Detroit. It's Detroit.
Yeah, the Pistons need to change their names to the Pistons.
They need to stop taking the piss.
They're not the Piss Troopers.
No. That's illustrious company.
Yeah, that's the MS.
Shout
out DTJB.
Well, we're close to closing up the Beancast for today, but just going over the predictions for last week, we had
Denver.
They got up 127 to 99.
Shout out number 1 seed on the way.
Currently, the scores for the selection start at sort of Ajinkya at 1-0, Bill at 1-0, Grant
me
1-0.
and Jinx are always going to be on the same.
Yeah,
exactly.
And myself for swerving and picking Portland at 0-1.
You fool.
This week
currently sitting at 1-1. Everyone, right?
Sorry?
Everyone's currently sitting at 1-1.
No. We reset the scores because I wanted. We'll do it monthly. So,
okay.
And then we can have a sort of payoff at the end.
All right.
Cool.
Right. What do we got?
This week, I was interested by this one. Miami at Utah.
Cool.
It's on Thursday for us.
Is Buckets back playing?
I have no idea about the availability for this one, but both teams would be in the midst of a 3 games in 4 nights set. And again, the game is in Utah, so I feel like it could be a rough one. But as you guys were saying, the Jazz are on a bit of a losing streak here.
They are.
So
at Utah.
No word on whether
I think he'll play.
If he does play,
I'm going Miami. Yeah, me too.
We can't really do conditional here, Karan. Come on.
I'm going Miami. Yeah. I think Utah are just not playing well. As I said, they just don't.
Yeah, but that could be the game that they snap their streak.
Or if they snap it earlier, then they're a streaky team. They'll just win those 4 straight.
Exactly right. So
I disrespected Jimmy Butler in the preseason by saying Philly, you're a better team with Tobias over him. I'm not making that mistake again. Shout out Young Toma. We go on Miami.
Alrighty, fair enough. And see, my take on this would probably have been if Butler plays, Miami wins.
Yep.
But if he doesn't, I'd probably pick Utah. But given we can't do conditional, I'll go Miami.
Yeah, boy.
Well, if I want to make a comeback here, I do have to swing on you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Utah.
Yep.
I reckon, yeah, like I said earlier, I feel like it's the perfect time for them to stop their skid, and it's the perfect conditions. They're at home. Both teams are going to be tired, but I think Miami's is also in the middle of a road trip, whereas again Utah will be finishing up theirs. I feel like it's perfect conditions for Utah to win. So yeah, I'm going to pick Utah, and obviously Ajinka is going to be siding with Bill. So
yes, giddy up, Miami.
Fair enough.
All right, let's go.
Let's see.
That's another episode of the official NBA Beancast done. Thank you for listening, guys. Yep, just another.
Hold on. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening, all 5 of you.
Shout out to everyone listening. We got a new mic for this ep, so
we're gonna keep on trying to upgrade.
Hopefully, it's better. Yep, that's.
If it ain't, just let us know on the official Beancast Twitter.
Yeah, and comment, subscribe, like.
give us the equivalent of Detroit out of 5 stars.
And we are available on all streaming platforms.
Almost there.
Prad's getting there.
Yeah. See you guys.